This morning, Tim, who's not here this morning, recently reminded or mentioned, used a term I hadn't heard in a while, the term being Dharma Doors. And I love this metaphor. And in the wide and deep tradition of Buddhism, the concept of Dharma Doors or Dharma Gates, as it's sometimes called, they're sometimes called, it really represent an entryway, our first sort of uh, way, a path into the teachings and practices of the Buddha. And it's a wonderful metaphor. It describes the many methods, the many teachings, the many approaches available to us as practitioners who walk this path. And I want to get into the specifics of that, but the notion of Dharma doors is really rooted in the Buddha's profound understanding of human diversity and how we all come to this with different attributes, different capacities, different temperaments, different circumstances. And his compassionate response to that diversity was to provide a range of ways for folks to access the Dharma. By exploring the meaning, the significance, and the implication of what we call Dharma doors, we really see the inclusivity and adaptability of his teachings. And it's really his commitment, his life's work to bring to all beings greater freedom. So a Dharma door is just most simply put an entry point into his teachings and practices. And I hope today in the discussion we can talk a little bit about what some of your entry points were. It's a way to access these Dharma doors are a way to access the profound truth of the Dharma and really begin this journey toward greater freedom. The metaphor of a door implies openness. It applies a welcoming, an invitation to step through into a new realm of understanding, a new realm of being, a new realm of existing in the world. And it also reflects the Buddha's acknowledgement there was no single path to this freedom, to this that all of us might need a different way to get there. And so the Dharma then encompasses a multitude of methods and teachings, and each can be tailored to the needs and inclinations of every individual, to each of us. The diversity of Dharma doors is famously illustrated in the Mahayana, the Zen tradition specifically, and what is known as the Flower Garland Sutta. And this sutta describes an infinite number of Dharma doors, each one representing a unique way to access the truth of reality. And in the sutta, it is said that bodhisattvas, those beings that forego enlightenment to stay here and help everyone else find freedom, it 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 where the bodhisattvas in the sutta vow to master all the Dharma doors so that when they come to someone, they can offer them a whole menu of opportunities. And this really embodies the Mahayana tradition or ideal of infinite compassion and wisdom. And one of the most remarkable aspects of the Buddhist tradition is its adaptability to different individuals and cultures. And we really see that in terms of how Buddhism was brought here from the East and sort of Americanized, if you will. And I think that in the West, there's a greater emphasis on practical Dharma, free of some of the more esoteric emphases of ancient Buddhism. And it's really the approach that, as you know, I practice and teach. Dharma doors reflect this adaptability by offering this range of teachings and practices so that there's a response to different needs and different circumstances. And these doors may take the form of, one door may be meditation, one door for others may be ethical conduct, one door might be chanting, which Susie mentioned recently, and by the way, is the primary form of practice in the Pure Land tradition, if you're familiar with that tradition out of Japan. Sometimes it's study, sometimes it's devotional practice, sometimes it's compassionate, sometimes it's all of the above. But some of the practices will focus primarily on wisdom. Some of the doors Some of the doors will focus on concentration, others on ethical discipline. But together, the various approaches all come under the umbrella and embody the Eightfold Path, which is the foundation in all the Buddhist traditions. For example, for those of us inclined toward mindfulness and introspection, the practice of meditation may be the Dharma door. For others, in the Pure Land tradition, which I just mentioned, the recitation and chanting of the Buddha's name might be the way, or in other traditions, it might be compassion-driven actions may open the way. Even hearing a single verse of the Dharma or encountering a compassionate gesture can sometimes act as a Dharma door or inspire folks to get ready to walk this path, to step into the river. The Dharma is vast, it's universal, but it's also deeply personal. It meets each of us where we are. It speaks to where we are. We tend to resonate to those parts of the Dharma that really speak to us personally. And that was really true when I first came upon this some years ago. And what just grabbed me was the sense of the normalization of suffering. And I'm going to do a talk on that recently. You grow up in this culture where suffering is seen as a weakness, a defect, somehow a failure. And the Buddha says, no, it's normal. It's part of life. It's unavoidable. There's nothing that makes us defective if we suffer. And to me, that was just, created a sea change in how I saw myself in the world. You may remember the parable of the blind man and the elephant. This sort of speaks to the inclusivity of the Dharma doors. That story is a link to the Buddha's teaching. And in the story, each blind man's touching a different part of the elephant. And when they're asked to describe what it is they're touching, each of them comes up with a different explanation. None of them can grasp the whole truth. And similarly, each Dharma door represents only a facet of the ultimate truth of the teachings, but collectively they reveal this vast and boundless nature of the Dharma as the Buddha so brilliantly conceived it and taught it. In his infinite wisdom, he provided countless ways for us to see the truth, to see the reality of life, while recognizing that no single method can fully encompass the depth of that reality. The ultimate purpose of Dharma doors is to guide us toward freedom from suffering and the realization that potential is there for each of us. So in the Buddhist framework, ignorance, or not seeing reality clearly, not seeing things as they are, is really the root cause of suffering. And the Dharma provides the means to dispel this ignorance. Each Dharma door acts as a skillful means, tailored to help us each overcome our own unique obstacles and delusions. We all have specific barriers, and the different Dharma doors give us different paths to address those barriers. The concept of skillful means that we talk about here so often is central to the understanding of this notion of Dharma doors. For example, in the Lotus Sutta, the Buddha compares his teachings to a physician prescribing different remedies to cure different ailments. Just as a doctor considers the unique condition of each patient, the Buddha offered different doors to suit the needs of different individuals. Some may require gradual instruction, while others are ready for sort of just grabbing it all, just having a moment of awakening. Some need teachings that emphasize the concept of emptiness, of no self, while others of us need benefit from practice focused on compassion and interdependence. The beauty of the Dharma is that it's not one size fits all. It's like a menu. We can pick and choose what resonates for us and where our challenges might lie. And this really reflects the Buddha's understanding of interdependence. Every one of us is interconnected, but each of our paths is different. They all have similarities, but they're all going to be unique to us. By providing countless doors, the Buddha ensures that no one is excluded from the possibility of finding freedom. And this inclusivity is really a testament to his boundless compassion. He vowed to alleviate or strive to alleviate the suffering of all sentient beings. And while the Dharma provides numerous doors, the responsibility for stepping through those doors lies with each of us. Therein lies the personal responsibility. So faith, effort, and mindfulness are essential qualities for those of us who wish to make progress on the path. The act of walking through a door requires courage and determination. It's not an easy path. It often involves confronting our own ignorance, our own attachments, our own clinging. But each step we take brings us closer to the realization of our own innate Buddha nature. Now, I would suggest to you that in our modern times, this concept of Dharma doors remains deeply relevant because the challenges of contemporary life, stress, distraction, existential uncertainty, on and on, call for a diverse range of skillful methods to bring the teachings into our lives. There are so many countervailing forces. But through meditation, but we have some modern technology to help us here. Meditation apps, online communities like our own, traditional monastic practices that are more widespread. All of these offer various Dharma doors. They offer fresh ways for folks to connect with the timeless wisdom, the 26-year-old wisdom that the Buddha taught. And the internet has really been we complain a lot about it, but in this regard, in terms of the Buddha's teachings, it's really been a gift because it really has opened it up to so many more people and to people that otherwise might not have had access to it. And these doors encapsulate the richness and the beauty and the inclusivity of the Buddhist tradition. It reminds us, as I said, that the path to freedom is not one size fits all. Often in other faith traditions, you do get the sense that it's more one size fits all. It's this way, this is the creed, this is the doctrine, this is the way you have to go. Well, we have choices. It's a deeply personal and adaptable process. But the beauty of it is that all the doors lead to the same ultimate truths, which is the freedom from suffering and the realization of that freedom. As we travel this path, the Buddha asks us to do so with an open heart and an open mind, but to find that door to begin that resonates with our own unique disposition and circumstances. And then as we make progress on the path, we are inspired to open other doors, new doors, and we're inspired to open doors for others within our communities, sharing the light of the Dharma wherever, folks are open to having it shared. And in this way, the infinite Dharma doors reflect not only the wisdom of the Buddha, but also this interconnectedness that he just taught and the compassion that lies at the heart of the path. So in closing, just think for a minute about your primary Dharma door, and maybe we can talk about it in a few minutes, or we can talk about whatever. But, was it Sangha? Was it certain talks that you heard? Was it books or other reading? Was it a role model, someone you admired and found out they were on the path? Was it online videos? Was it specific practices? Was it chanting, meditation? I mean, the list goes on and on. So let's perhaps have some discussion about some of the Dharma doors that have been meaningful to each of us.